Well, good morning, Ben Harbor. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's good to be back. Today is September 12th, 2022. And you are here today with me, Director McGinnis. This is Chatting with the Chief. And we're here generally every Monday at 9 o'clock, excluding holidays. And sometimes there's days that I'm off. Every once in a while, we do have a technical difficulty, but we're here. Of course, we weren't here last week because we had the holiday, and the week before that, actually, it just was off. So, anyway, I am Director Dan McGinnis here with Ben Harbor Department of Public Safety. And today, actually, we're not really talking about anything other than kind of get to know me, if you will. One of the things that I want to do is that I would like to, at least once a month, highlight one of the officers, kind of have you learn about them, where they come from, how they come here, what they like about the job here, and the people. So I know we already had on here Fire Marshal Kazmarzik, we had on here Deputy Director Clark, and today I'm just going to kind of talk about myself. I've been here just about 24 years. So I thought, you know what, maybe I'll just talk about me. Not a very interesting topic, probably for over the course of an hour, but at least you have the opportunity to know something about your director. So that's what we're doing today. There are some shows I'm trying to put together in the future. One of the ones I'm really looking forward to doing, that's been difficult putting together, is I really want to have some of the mothers and some of the parents of some of the victims of gun violence to come on. But no matter how long a time frame has been since somebody's kid has been killed, it's never easy. So I think that would be really beneficial for people to hear actually the ramifications of gun violence, not just on the victim's family, but even on the suspect's family. So there's some things we're working on. Again, we try to be proactive. We got some things that we're working on as far as a community, not just for Benton Harbor, but overall, there needs to be a social justice in all Barron County, especially between Benton Harbor and the courts. So anyway, those are some things that will be coming in the future. I try to have Chat with the Chief be substantive, talk about things that's not a bunch of fluff and hooey. So that's my goal. So anyway, today we don't have any of that stuff. We're taking a break as far as, I guess, some guests. So me, Dan McGinnis, I'm going to talk about me. I kind of start at the beginning, where I came from, why I came here, why I'm here, what my goals have been. Lord has blessed me. One thing some of you guys may have noticed, when we first started Chat with the Chief, I got some of the feedback that was pretty churchy. So I've tried to tone that down a little bit, but anybody who knows me will tell you that that's just in him. That's who I am. So I do try to maintain some type of balance between kind of the church and the job, but sometimes it's difficult. But that's part of who I am. So I believe very strongly in Jesus. I've been in the church for some years now, and it really is astounding. So for some of you who thought it was a little churchy at first, or sometimes we might slip into some amens, that's why. So, and speaking of church, I was so proud yesterday. My son got baptized, and not only is that a tremendous, as a teenager, not only is that a tremendous thing that happened and just kind of did my heart good. What also makes me feel good is that between him, myself, my dad, my father-in-law, we were all baptized in the same church. That's amazing. That is utterly amazing. So on my wife's side and my side. So you got me tickled pink because of that. Just absolutely, I can jump out my seat right now. So not only having young men, young black men baptized, but the whole bloodline on both sides come through one church is amazing. So that happened yesterday, so I'm pretty happy about that. But anyway, so Chief McGinnis, can we tell you about that character? Um, One thing I'll say again, this is we talk about what things that need to be talked about, so we're pretty straightforward. So I'm that guy, kind of love me or leave me. I am who I am all the time. So for some people that's great. Other folks kind of rub them the wrong way. I understand that. That kind of is what it is. I'm very focused and purpose driven. I give you no excuses. Again, either you love me or hate me. A lot of times, no in between. I think I hear my assistant out there probably amen, and she needs to be quiet. Um, but that's who I am. So that's one of the things that if you know me, I could be a really, really great friend, but I could be not so much a good friend if we're not friendly. So that's me. A whole lot type A personality. One of my biggest things, I think my biggest strength is my biggest weakness. One of the things that I think is important for a man or woman to really know what their weaknesses are, especially if you have an interview. So one of my biggest strengths is my biggest weaknesses. I call myself a recovering perfectionist. So perfectionism, on the good side, allows you to do things really, really well. But on the bad side, it is maddening the things that we go to and do over and over again and redo. And seemingly it's never right. And we're never satisfied with our work, no matter how much time we put into it. So that's one of the things that I kind of struggle with. Again, it's a blessing and a curse. I give you a presentation. It's going to be top notch, very professional. Chances are, though, that thing, by the time you get it, it's probably in the 17th iteration. Just because every time I look at it again, a change, because that's just kind of the perfectionist mindset. So, those are my strengths, weaknesses, who I am kind of overall. So let's kind of start at the beginning. Again, today is just kind of get to know the Chief Day. This is Chat with the Chief. I've been here again, my career 24 years. I've been sitting here in this seat for 8 years, which has been a blessing to me. So let's go back. Dan McGinnis, originally from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I was born in Grand Rapids. My mom and my dad actually met at college, Michigan State. So my dad, of course, for those of you that are a long time Benton Harbor, the McGinnises are from Benton Harbor. So my mom was from Grand Rapids, my dad from Benton Harbor. They met up at college, and ultimately ended up getting married. So that was then born and raised in Grand Rapids. First 5 years of my life, my mom and dad actually moved to Kalamazoo. So we lived in Kalamazoo till I was 5. Unfortunately, they got divorced. We moved back to Grand Rapids. Me and mom, my dad went back to Benton Harbor. So I'd always had that link here. So every summer I had a great dad. Although my mom and dad I got divorced, my dad was a terrific dad. Many of you might know him. Some older people have Dan Senior, called him Big Dan. We lived over at 1454 Union. Actually, let's back up. Original McGinnises were on Frederick, moved to Highland sometime. I'm not exactly sure. I think in the 50s or 60s. That's where my dad and all my aunts and uncles grew up. So they lived there. And then my dad, after he came back, he got remarried. We lived over on Union. But before that, we lived in Benton Manor. Then moved over on Union when he met my stepmom, who was actually a wonderful person as well. So that's why when I was at home in Grand Rapids, when school was out, my mom would pack me up and literally ship me down to Benton Harbor. So like literally, if school was out on Friday, I was on the bus to Benton Harbor Saturday morning. So growing up, I kind of had a kind of a dual kind of upbringing, because again, being from Grand Rapids, whereas where I was born and raised, went to school, had my friends, but then also being in Benton Harbor every summer, like all summer. I mean, I came down here, berry picked. My hangout was Union Park all day, every day. It's where I met my friends, and I have as many, if not more, friends from Benton Harbor from my summers of growing up here. And I came to the realization, actually a few weeks ago, that Heck, I'm as much from Ben Harbor as I am from Grand Rapids because all my fond memories are from down here. All my time spent, the good times were down here during the summer. So getting up, my good friends Ray White on Bishop Street. Remember old school Snappy Stacks was at the end of our street. Actually, I was never supposed to go to Empire. Actually, I was never supposed to cross Empire. So, of course, getting the Snappy Stacks was a bit of a challenge considering to cross Empire to get to it. So sometimes I snuck across Empire to go to Snappy Snacks, obviously. And I did not get in trouble for that particular thing. But anyway, so that's the deal from Grand Rapids. My family, my dad's side is from Ben Harbor, would let me to come down here all my life. Again, from 5, 6 years old on through high school. This was my second home, if you will. So graduated from high school in 1988, which gives you kind of my age. I was actually all state track. When I was in high school, I was a football player and a track athlete. I was actually kind of a little small, speedy guy, kind of the slasher, which is kind of, I guess, where my son gets it from. So I played football, ran track. My senior year, I got hurt. I had a severe ankle sprain, which kind of sidelined my football season for most of the season. I ended up actually getting a scholarship to run track at the University of Michigan. So I ran track at the University of Michigan. Actually, I did that for a couple of years before I kind of lost interest with that. So I go from high school to U of M, ran track. Once I stopped running track, stayed there. So I spent some time in Ann Arbor. So you got some people who are Michigan fans. There's got Michigan fans. So I actually did go to Michigan. Sometimes people are surprised with that. So anyway, went to Michigan. I ultimately ended up graduating from Western, but I spent some time at U of M. So for a stint, went back to Ben Harbor. I'm sorry, Grand Rapids. Worked there. I used to work in Kent County Jail. So that's kind of first my start in the criminal justice system, working in the Kent County Jail. Of course, that's up in Grand Rapids. And then an opportunity had opened up down here in police work. And actually, ironically, I had never been interested in police work. What I was interested in doing was I wanted to be a teacher. And then when I got into school, I studied sociology. So my degree's in sociology. So then I wanted to get into uh, um, probation parole. So that was kind of my interest. Well, this opportunity opened up in Benton Harbor. Actually, I had a good friend of mine, again, guys I grew up with. Because when I moved down here, all my friends were working in City Hall. Dylan Barnes was working in City Hall. Larry Featherstone was working in City Hall. Again, I'm dating myself. Darren Watson was working in City Hall. Marcus Watson was working in City Hall. So all the guys I grew up with were working for the city. So got a call, hey, the police department's hiring. At that time, I really wasn't doing anything. I wasn't in school. I hadn't went back to finish school. So I was young, kind of life's kind of hanging kind of in the balance. I had a pretty decent job, wasn't the best. So I said, okay, I'll go down and take the test. I know being a former athlete, and a lot of you guys out there who are former athletes probably can identify with this. When you're young and then you get out of school and then you're no longer an athlete, for like the first 10, 15 years, you're wishing you can get back to that point where you were to do the things that you did before. So I looked at getting into police work as really a physical challenge, and not so much I was interested in police work. Again, I had gotten a little older, starting to put on some weight, wasn't the shape I had used to being a high school and a college athlete. So I said, sure, I'll come down and take the test. So I came down and took it. Actually, let me be honest, I took it twice. So the first time they asked me, I went down there. I really wasn't interested at all. So back then we had a civil service exam, and I went down there. They kind of coached me into taking it because I said I wasn't interested. Went down there, took the civil service exam. For one, I don't like standardized tests. Two, I don't like long ones. And this one was longer than I wanted it to be, considering I didn't want to take it at all. So I literally skipped like all the math part. There was some minor math that was on there. I mean, it wasn't anything like calculus or trigonometry, but just basic stuff. I skipped all that, and I actually still ended up passing the test amazingly. So I didn't actually get in that high end process because I was still kind of happy with what I was doing. I just kind of did it because my friend Marcus was kind of on me to come down and take it. So I did. So probably a year and a half, maybe after that, Marcus called me again and he said, "Hey man, come down, take the test. I got a spots open." So I said, "Okay." So I went down. This time I kind of took it semi seriously and took the civil service exam, passed it. This time I think I did finish the math part. Had the interview, ultimately got hired. So that was 1999. I was hired by Benton Harbor. By that time, the director was, I think we just had a change. So Milton Abraham Aggie was the director. Mark Lindeen was the inspector. Marcus Watson was, I think at that time, he was a deputy city manager or deputy director or something like that. He's got himself into one of those offices. So I was not actually at the time certified. So Benton Harbor had hired me to put me through the police academy. Again, this was 1999. So I technically, although my actual official hire/retirement date is June 25th, I was hired June 25th was the day that I graduated from the police academy and was sworn in as an officer. I was actually hired in February of 1999 because we call them kind of gophers. Before you go to the academy, we'll bring you on, and then you do, get ready for your uniforms, get fitted, get ready to go to the academy, and then also do little odd jobs, move the fleet, take out trash, whatever it is. So I actually started really in February in the city, but my official date is June. So I came down. At that point, my dad lived by himself. My stepmom had passed away some years prior, unfortunately, from cancer. So I came down, lived with my dad. Um, Although it was a great opportunity, that's one of the toughest things I ever did. So, I forgot something. So going back, when I was in high school, I think I have a story that is can be told to give people encouragement. Had a little mishap in high school. So my oldest child actually was born when I was a senior. So again, I had a girlfriend in high school, ended up getting pregnant. So we had a child. She actually was a junior. I was a senior. So that's my number one, my oldest baby, Elise. Matter of fact, you might can see her back there on my wall. Maybe not. So when I went away to U of M, I had the little one. So she was actually back and forth with me from Grand Rapids to Ann Arbor. That's probably a whole nother story in itself. One of the things, although I was young, I felt very strongly about fatherhood, and I had my responsibilities that both my mom and my dad expected me to have. So even in school, I still had a child support that I had to pay. So one of the things I'm gonna tell you right now, boys and girls, one of the things that a man can never, ever, ever argue with me is child support. If you made a child, you need to take care of your child. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care if you and mama don't get along. That's not the child's fault. Take care of your responsibilities. I cannot stand a man that shirks his fatherly responsibilities, does not take care of kids that he made and brought on this earth. That's a quick aside. That and domestic violence are my two push buttons that'll get me going. But man needs to take care of his kids. So anyway, the toughest thing I did was I knew that the opportunity to come here and work was a great opportunity. It was a life-changing opportunity. The problem was at the time, or for me to explain to I think an 8-year-old, is yes, daddy is leaving, but it's for the better. How do you explain that to a child? So we got together, we hugged, we cried, and we hugged some more. Ultimately, she understood, and I think overall, it worked out exactly as I thought it would because it did provide some opportunities and some financial resources that I would not have had maybe if I had not made the move. So and that was very, very difficult. It was done for the good of my daughter. So let me tell you about her real quick. So again, this is about McGinnis. You learn about me. Actually, I'm married. Working on 21 years now. I have 4 kids. Of course, I just told you about my oldest. That is Elise. She is phenomenal. Again, I think I changed my camera angle so you can't see her on the wall. She got married back in 2000. What's it? When was that? I'm bad with dates. Terrible. So anyway, got 4 kids. Got my oldest. So I got my kids are 34, 20, 17, and 12. So got married 2001. Many of you guys know my wife, Annetta, was a pool. Now I'm McGinnis for now, again, these 21 years. So 4 kids. So moved down here. Still was a blessing because I still went up and I visited my daughter every chance I get. I visited the school. Actually, I did 6 school visits a year where I just pop up and she see me. I'd go talk to her counselor. I'd talk to her teachers, and of course, she was always the perfect student. So, my oldest daughter was actually graduated salutatorian. She actually was homecoming queen. She went to college and graduated cum laude. Took a job in Arizona, spent that for a year. Then her and her fiance had got married. Well, she moved back. I got married, and then she's been married now for I think over 10 years. So that's that. So that was difficult, but it all worked out to the glory. I have 2 wonderful grandkids, and very proud of my oldest. All my kids have been wonderful. So come down here, went to the police academy. That was we started in end of February 1999. I'm sorry, April 99, and 16 weeks. So I went down there to the police academy. And one of the things I told when I was going through my interview process, Aggie and Lundeen and Marcus, I said, you know what? I know they talked about how Ben Harbor has been a revolving door and people would come, they'd pay for the training, they'd take the training and then leave Ben Harbor, go someplace else. So I said, you know what will make them think that I would not do the same thing? I told them, I said, well, first thing, I'll give you this. Here's my promise. I'll finish no less than the top 5 in the police academy. So they kind of looked at me like that's a bold prediction. Ultimately, I finished number 4 in my academy. Police academies are really separated by it's so competitive, very minuscule numbers. So I was only a couple hundred second out of being number 3 and 2. So anyway, graduating top 5 as I suspected I would. So one of the things, again, like as I just alluded to, is for years and years and years, people would come to Ben Harbor, get the training, go someplace else. They'd come to Ben Harbor when Ben Harbor sponsored people, have Ben Harbor sponsor them to the police academy, get that training, work maybe for a little bit, and then go someplace else. So we have been losing a ton of money. There has been a revolving door of officers that have come through Benton Harbor. And, that one of the things that I've tried to do is close that door and stop that and make this work to be a destination and not so much as a stepping stone. So, one thing I'll never, ever, ever forget this. This was a career defining moment. So I was in the academy. And here in Benton Harbor, we go to the KVCC Academy, the Kalamazoo Valley Community College. And back then, there was a director. His name was Don Cody. And he was actually worked his career at Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety. And he was the director of the academy. And he was quite a character. He was definitely quite a character. He's the type of guy, those teachers that when you take a test, they make those trick questions. You might have a test of 10 questions, a quiz of 10 questions. 8 of them are fine. 2 of them are like, ooh, I can go either way. Well, this guy, we used to take exams every single week, and they'd be anywhere from 186 to 200 and some odd questions. And he made it that almost every single question was a trick question, or the majority of tests was a trick question. So you could almost never win. That guy was something else. But he ran one of the best academies in the state. At the time, I think we were number 3 or 2 based on graduation and hiring. So anyway, one day he called me, he said, "Hey, Danny, come here." Of course, I hate when people call me Danny. He was like, "Hey, Danny, come here." He was like, I'll never forget this. He's like, he looked at me and says, I don't see you in Benton Harbor long. He said, you're too sharp for that place. He said, the sky's the limit. He said, you should be KDPS, GRPD, some department like that. Then he had even told me that if I need any help getting into any of those departments, let him know. And, I looked at him. I took that as an absolute total offense to Benton Harbor. How is it that, basically Benton Harbor is your client? They have hired you and entrusted you to train their employees to do police work for the Benton Harbor, and you're telling a trainee that that city's not good enough. I'm better than that, and I can go anywhere. I took that as an absolute huge offense. Granted, I wasn't even on the department fully yet, but I'm a very loyal person, and that burned me the right way. And from that conversation, I said to myself, I'm gonna prove him and everyone else wrong. I will never leave Ben Harbor until it's my time to go. So that has been my motivation to stay here. Um, I didn't like that, and I think one of the things, especially for you who, those of you on here who may have listened to me um, on previous chat with the Chiefs, make reference to like the talented 10th. And for those who may know or may not know what those are, E.B. Dubois back in the day wrote, oh, morning, guys. I know we got the chat side. It's hard being a one-man show, and I don't have anybody, a guest, to bounce things off so I can read that. So if I'm a little slow, forgive me. So where was that? So stay here. He told me that again. I was very offended. So that was my motivation to stay here my entire career, just because that was not expected. We didn't have any retirees. People were leaving left and right. I was going to definitely make sure, prove him wrong, because Ben Harbor is better than that. And we can't be having people trying to recruit away our darn recruits in the police academy. So anyway, got out, then started my career. Again, this is 1999, graduated from the academy June 25th, 2020. I'm sorry, 1999. Short time later, my father ended up passing away. So I graduated from the academy June 25th, 99. He passed away July 21st of 99. He died a little bit after I got out of the academy. But I would say we had good times. He unexpectedly passed away of a heart attack. I think it was at the age of 52. Actually, the age I am now. But yeah, so that was difficult. But again, he had raised me, and we had a groundwork that was established. So kind of started working here. Kind of loved it, enjoyed it. I was single. Again, I had money coming out the wazoo because I was working overtime. I didn't really have any bills. I was staying with my dad. My daughter was taken care of, and I really enjoying it. So this place is really, really different. We have a huge outside mentality. So at first when I got here, you're not from here, you're not one of us, blah, blah, blah. It takes about 10, 15 years to get through that, but we got through it. But one of the things I really enjoyed was being on the road and talking to people. And, there's people out there that do bad things, but sometimes people do bad things, not because they're bad, because some bad choices in the past have led them down the path that now they're in a state of desperation. So a person who maybe made a bad decision back in the day that may have led to drugs or alcohol abuse or homelessness, does that make them a bad person? I'm saying absolutely not. So for me to treat the people that were on drugs, cracked out, drunk, thrown up in the street, they deserve as much courtesy and respect as Joe Blow driving through in his BMW, driving through Ben Harbor going to St. Joe or whatever, or a resident living on the south side of Ben Harbor. So I always try to treat people the same, with the same amount of respect, and not differentiate, which is a huge problem in our society. We look at people that are homeless, that are on drugs, that are quote unquote street people, and we denigrate them, but then we put on a pedestal other people who we perceive are in better social stratuses, and I don't think that's right. So made a lot of friends, if you will, working on the road. When I say friends, I'm talking about there's some people that I arrested. They were on drugs, they had drugs, maybe the gun possession. But throughout the years, we were cool, and they realized I do what I do, they do what they do, but it was a mutual respect. And there's a lot of people that I would, again, church is in me. I'd stop and pray for on the side of the road on my patrol car, or I'd give them rides, maybe give them a little word, not force it down their throat, but just, somebody, God loves you. Somebody's out there for you if you ever want to change your life. And I'm so proud. There's so many people that have changed your lives, that got off drugs, that I can give you name after name of people that are law-abiding citizens, good jobs, good families. But if you'd have saw them maybe 15, 20 years ago, you'd have never guessed what happened. That's what this job is about. It's that, helping people. But we think about the people, again, that have, sometimes the have nots are the ones that need help as much as the ones that have. So I don't necessarily want to be talking kind of in circles, but that was important to me. So back then I worked through, and I've actually, in this job, I've held kind of every position that there is because I have been here so long. So I started off as a patrolman. I was a sergeant. I was a lieutenant. I was a captain. I was a deputy director. I was actually acting director, and then I'm the director. So I've held every position in this department that you can have. So let's kind of fast forward. Let's go to 2009. That is when, if you recall, Benton Harbor Police Department used to be separate from the fire department. 2009, as you know, we went into receivership, and we got this little maniacal dictator known to the state as an emergency financial manager, was what he first was called. And he came in and he looked at police, fire, and he said, you know what, let's smush them together and go to public safety, and we'll save money. So as some of you guys may remember, back then that was hugely controversial because people didn't think police and fire should be merged. And of course, depending on what study you look at, you can find 10 studies on both sides. So really got to look at what is right for a community. So I will say that there's generally a lot of superfluous kind of spending on the fire side, but again, each community is autonomous. I know. Am I an advocate for public safety? Yes, from the standpoint, if done correctly, that's the key. If done correctly, it can work, but it just needs to be phased in over the course of no less than 15 years. 15 to 25 years is how you should really fade in public safety. We were just kind of right there in your face. So it can work. One of the things, though, is that here's the truth of the matter, and you'll hear a lot of people kind of discuss this. We are public safety. We press that to our guys. Our full-time staff is our public safety officers, so they have accepted and embraced the fact that they need to be police and fire. But let's be honest. When we became cops, we signed up to be cops because we wanted to be cops. Firefighters signed up to be firefighters because they wanted to be firefighters. If you ask a cop if he had to go out, he'd rather go out in a blaze of glory in a gun battle and not be burned up in a fire. You ask a firefighter, they'd rather go out in the fire and not have to deal with possibly being shot or hit by a car. So obviously we went to those two professions for our own reasons. Now we're bringing those together. So of course that was controversial the first few years. Was a lot of propaganda from the International Association of Firefighters, which is the big union. And so we started kind of with a somewhat ignominious beginning. Again, the then emergency financial manager really didn't do much research, and all he was looking, especially the subsequent emergency manager, all they were looking at was the bottom line. So they weren't really necessarily trying to help Benton Harbor be better. They were simply trying to change certain lines on the paper from red to black. That was it. Don't be fooled to think that they were here to help the city, to make things better. They didn't add to or improve. They cut away and really strapped us. So I know a lot of times you might hear the commissioners kind of take pops at the emergency manager and that EM law. You know what? For good reason, because not only were they declawed, but the whole thing, they both left the city in terrible shape. So because the first emergency manager, and he actually made this comment because I heard him say it. and he said it publicly. He said, "How hard can it be to put the wet stuff on the hot stuff?" Meaning, how hard could it be to spray water on a fire? Well, I'm here to tell you, although I was a cop and never intended to be a firefighter. Quite honestly, I used to hate firefighters. Still don't think much about many of them, but um, I can tell you this though: that is totally ignorant to think that it's easy to be a firefighter. There are so many things that are involved with fighting a structure fire that the average person wouldn't think of. It might look easy. Yeah, you find a fire, find a hot spot, pour water on it. That seems like that's commonsensical, but it's not that easy. It's not that easy. There are a lot of things involved with firefighting, especially when it comes to safety. One of the things with firefighter, quite honestly, we can find ourselves in a deadly situation in seconds, maybe far quicker in a burning building than say at a crowd fight. So, there's been a couple times where I was like, "Oh snap, this can't be it." So, yeah, I ended up making it out. But yeah, so we started, and it wasn't a very good start. There wasn't a plan. That EM again only saw bottom line. So when we went to public safety back then, I know for on the police side, I think there were 28 officers, give or take, and there were 12 firefighters. There were 12 firefighters at least, because I know we had A, B, and C shift, 4 per shift. That's 12. So not only did he take us and make us public safety, and he took us and merged police and fire, but he laid off 9 of the 12 firefighters and 9 of the 20 plus police officers. So you put us together, say the job is easy, but then you minimize the manpower for both. So both fell below what the manpower would have been if they were individual. So now you take these police officers that have just went to fire school, and now you're going to merge them, and then there was really no guidance, no direction. So that's kind of how we started. I know then the director Roger Lang was doing his best to kind of piece it all together and do what Joe Harris, who's the first little maniacal EM, was doing the best he could. So after a while, I think the state saw that Joe Harris didn't have the city's best interest at heart, but his own. They ended up getting rid of him, and they got rid of Hitler, and then brought in Mussolini, basically. So the second emergency manager, Tony Saunders, he for the most part finished the city off from what Joe Harris had started. So not only did he keep the things that Joe Harris had put in place with the increased kind of responsibility and training with less people, he then took our wages and then made us take over the course of his year, 2 years, however long he's here, end up being about 14% total. And one of the things with the emergency manager is, you guys may not know that, they can't force you into a labor agreement. You have to agree. But here's the thing that makes you agree. When you're under the threat, we've already seen him lay off 9 police officers, 9 firefighters. He would often say when he wanted to make a change that he needed the union's approval, he would say, "Well, you know what? Here's what I'm proposing. You can sign it, or you know what? I might have to lay off 4 more of you." So under the threat of our jobs, of course, yeah, we signed his agreement knowing that they weren't legal, which ultimately they were not. They got kind of overturned. So that really made it even more difficult. And that revolving door I talked about, as far as people coming and going, really was exacerbated by that situation. So we had people that came, kind of took advantage of us, worked a little bit, then they went on to East Grand Rapids, GRPD, Kentwood, different places off the back of Ben Harbor. And realize when somebody's hired in police work, a lot of times people don't think about kind of the cost. Yeah, there's the cost of the academy, the cost of the equipment just for an officer alone. You're probably talking about maybe $300-400 just in on his belt gear. That's your holster of the belt, magazine pouches, flashlight holder, all that. The vest, those vests are probably about $800 a piece. Then you have your uniforms. So putting a police officer, equipping a police officer in uniforms, short sleeve, long sleeve, pants. We got A and B, so we got kind of like the more of the traditional police pants. Now we have the B are the ones we use daily for firefighting if we get called to fire. All that costs. But now on the fire side, people don't realize what's called the turnout gear or the fire suit or the what we put on the coat and the pants. Those by themselves are cheaply $2,400 up to over 3,000 just for the turnout gear, and that gear is fire retardant. It is fire resistant, not totally heat resistant, but does protect us when we go into fires. So when we got people that roll through, and you got maybe a couple $1,000s in police equipment, same, actually more in fire equipment. So it was important for us to try to get a system here where we would kind of stop kind of like the bleeding personnel wise. So I think what year made deputy director, or then Detective Mike Clark, a deputy director, sharp guy, vision, he's got a degree. I think he's finished up his master's degree. And our goal was to take Benton Harbor and not make it a stepping stone, but make it a destination, and to be the best police and fire department in the area. So that's been my motivation. Again, Don Cody told me I'd never be there. I was too good for that place. The emergency manager literally almost destroyed us from the ground up, put us in a position to fail. And let me say this, I don't, our commission, I know sometimes they drive me nuts. There's a couple on there that really are a handful. But that being said, through all the occupation, I call it, but through the EMs and their actions subsequently that they've taken to replace and to put things back in place that were taken away, they've done a great job. Now, obviously, we didn't have the money or certain things to put it automatically back the way it was, but they understood how the EMs did the city. And I would say collectively as a group, we've gotten to where we are. At least I'm talking about from the perspective of support for the public safety department. They have been phenomenal. All 9 of them. I got to give them credit. He probably like, okay, McGinnis he's probably passing out. No, got to give them credit. They've done a great job. So, they understand what we've been through. They've seen how we kind of were robbed by the EM. We saw how kind of the thing was kind of thrown together. They're tired of spending money, having people go in and out the door. So we got to a point where we said, we want to stop that, but now we want to be the best. So in the fire service right now, we are pretty good. We are right now. Fire Marshal Kazmarzik and Deputy Director Clark are actually flying to Houston because they are now part of a small panel that will teach NFPA fire standards nationwide. Let me say that again, nationwide. So, that right there is a blessing. So we're trying to, my thing is I always want to be the best. I want to be the best fire department. I want to be the best police department. We're going to do that. Kind of give you an idea, history starting back, kind of being financially strapped as a city and as a department. When I started, through the years that I was here, we had cars that were raggedy, cars that wouldn't start. We had cars that were so rusty that we literally had a stop sign put on the floorboard on the driver's side to keep our feet from going through the hole in the squad car. It was an old Caprice Classic. I think it was 73. It had holes in the literally a hole this big that was in the floor. You could literally look down and see the pavement as we drove. So we were bad equipment. We didn't have rifles. All our stuff was old. So one of the things I said, if I ever became the chief or the director, I want to make sure that my guys had the best equipment. So right now, again, we understand that the public safety department is generally at least a third of any municipal budget. It's the biggest department. It's 24 hours. It takes a big piece of the general fund. We understand that. So what we do, myself, Mike Clark, Kaz, we are always applying for grants, constantly applying for grants. So we have, I'm proud to say, on both the police side and the fire side, we have brand new equipment. We have top of the line of everything. And what we didn't have before that we have now is we have cycles, replacement cycles. So we don't buy a car and run it for 8 to 10 years and then buy another car and run it. We have a fleet agreement that we have with our vehicles. Again, we just are in the process of replacing weapons because I think ours are 10 to 15 years old. So we're in a spot now where my guys and honestly my guys are a little bit spoiled because the young guys don't realize how bad it was, and they have brand new of everything, which is nice. On the fire side, we literally have brand new everything. Right now, we're having our second replacement attack engine being built right now up in Grand Rapids. That'll replace our second 20-year-old engine. So we'll have basically two brand new engines. Our ladder truck is in good shape. And the last thing that we're looking to do for the fire department, because we have brand new everything, is to replace the lights in the fire bay and to redo the ceiling. Because also we are historic in the fact that we don't have, other departments don't have the fire pole. They don't have the rich original tradition of the fire station that we have. So we kind of have the best of both worlds. We have the best of all modern equipment in firefighting. We have an historic building that we want to preserve for the history and richness of the fire service. And Ben Arbor Fire Department has a very rich history in being successful firefighters. I'm gonna tell you, those guys were tremendous, and that's who we learned from. So that's kind of where we are now. So now I am in I got about 18, 20 months away from right now into the sunset, trying to figure out what I want to do. So I'm very pleased of the accomplishments that we've had here. And working 25 years in this job in this city has definitely been definitely a calling, that's for sure. It's definitely a labor of love, but I love every minute of it. I love Benton Harbor. I love our people. I love going out and talking to people. It could be Myers. It could be, I don't go to Walmart. The place is terrible, but it could be Myers. It could be Martin's. It could be anywhere. So that's kind of a little bit of my story, what brought me here. Let me go back and look at some of these. Again, forgive me for, I'm not real smart. I'm going to do one thing at a time. Shaquille, morning, sir. Good morning. Support that. Next month, what are we doing for fire prevention? Got to get what Kaz. I know we usually do a lot of stuff. We put a lot of stuff out on social media. We go to schools. What I don't know is, do we have our appointments lined up? One thing I like to do when school starts, like right in the first week or two, get with our partner schools and line up those school visits when we go in there. So one of my things is, and if you're a teacher out there, if you want me to come to your class and read your book or read a book to the class or just visit the kids, we're all for that, 100%. One thing I'll say, if I read to little kids, my favorite book to read is Green Eggs and Ham. Green Eggs and Ham, that's my favorite kid story. It's my favorite book. So if you want me to come read to your class or read to some kids, my only caveat is got to be Green Eggs and Ham. I love that book. So those are some things. Again, I haven't verified where exactly we are, but we always are in the schools with presentations for the month. And then we also are going through, we're trying to get another list of people who need smoke detectors installed. We know there's people that need them, but there's also some elderly and some people who maybe can't get around, who we will come and install those for you. All right, Richard. All right, here we go. So this is pretty sure Richard Marsh followed Harris. No, Richard Marsh, Rich, was the city manager at the time when Harris came. So Richard March, I think, was the guy that actually led us to being in receivership because he reported something to the state. So he was not an EM; he was the actual city manager, and then ultimately he left. So I just want to clear that one up. Where's that one at? We got here. Can we do a TikTok video? So actually, I'm working on that. So can we do a TikTok video showing your staff getting into the truck and going to a call? I'm trying to actually find a cameraman artist. I'm not sure what they're called because I have a couple videos in mind for just this very thing. And as part of our campaign, our anti-violence campaign, as well as our mentorship support campaign for the youth. So yeah, Shaquille, I'll get with you on that because though there's a couple of things I have in mind that I want to do, and actually we have the money to do it. So I do want to knock that out, and I want to do it right now that school has started. I don't want to wait too long. So thank you for that. That's what we're trying to do. Any more questions or comments? Is Big Don. Hey Don, how you doing, sir? Don has been one of our reserves for many years. I'm not sure. Don, how long have you been with us? It's been a long time. I think you were one of the originals. Good morning. So, yeah, so that's it. I kind of rambled on, but I wanted to take this opportunity to we're chatting with the chief, kind of get to know the chief, kind of what makes me tick. Oh, you know what? I guess I could have gotten to. I don't have this written down, so I forgot some stuff. One of the things that I've done since I've been, even at home, well, I'm sorry, not home, but in Grand Rapids and here, is I've been involved in youth sports. I'm a huge youth sport person. And here I've been involved with actually Ben Harbor Rocket as well as St. Joe Rocket football. I've coached football 10 years at Upton Junior High. I've coached 2 years at Ben Harbor High School. I've coached 2 years at St. Joe High School. So, one of the things is I look at like our society and our community where we are, especially with youth. My thing is what can I do, not just in my police capacity, but as a mentor, a male mentor, to get into the community and mentor our people, our young kids, boys and girls. Because one thing that, and I'm working with, and there'll probably be another couple of other shows, some projects to partner with other groups, i.e. Jumpstart, Dylan Barnes, Boys and Girls Club, other, organizations like that to come together. Let's not reinvent the wheel. If this organization has great mentorship, this one over here has great access database because parents, maybe they might be an athletic organization. Let's kind of bring those together so we can hit our target population and have the resources and share them and not let differences or not knowing what each organization have hinder the ultimate output. So for me, I am again, I've been coaching over there on St. Joe side. I want to come back over here, coach track, football, coach track over again at St. Joe. Last year we won the state championship in the 4x1. But I want to take those things and bring them over here to this side. So I'm going to be working this year with Rocket Football, doing some volunteer work. I know our church is going to help, sponsor some things with Rocket Football. My goal. So here's my bucket list. One of the things here, and I'll close with this. We'll get done maybe a few minutes early. But one of the things that really, really kind of bothers a strong word, when I look at the offerings for athletic opportunities in the Benton Harbor, we all know that Benton Harbor is a state perennial powerhouse when it comes to boys basketball. We know that they are top 20, top 10 every year. Ben Arbor and and Coach Sterling takes the team all over the state. They play a tough regular season, which gets them ready for the finals. But what we don't have, Ben Harbor, the basketball town, is we don't have any type of feeder programs or development programs for the young ladies who may also want to play basketball, or maybe it's softball, or maybe it's soccer. Now, I don't know nothing about soccer or softball, but what my point is this. I think especially when we look at the violence in the community, that we automatically want to kind of target and mentor the young boys, but the young ladies need as much mentoring, if not more, than the guys. So I really want to see some organizations to build some programs, athletic programs, because that's my venue, that's my pond, so that these young girls can start playing basketball just like in St. Joe, just like Lakeshore, Buchanan, Bridgman. They start in the third grade. Our girls don't see basketball till they get to middle school, maybe to high school. That's too late. So by the time a young girl from Ben Harbor joins a basketball team in the 6th, 7th grade, her counterparts in the rest of the county had already been playing basketball for 3 years. So what I'm saying is, I want to come and coach and ultimately help young kids, boys and girls, get some scholarships. Let's help get them out of here. Let's make sure that they got the mentorship, the support, they got the grades at a point where they can accept some type of scholarship. I don't care if it's Division III, Division II, but I think that we have talent walking around here that their way out or their way to a college education, maybe through athletics, and I want to be part of a system or to build a system to meet both needs. But right now I'm saying, we need to catch up the I might be saying wrong, the female student support with what we have for the boys. Dylan Barnes, he's got 200 kids in his basketball program. How many of those are girls? If there's no girls, or if you want to expand the girls, how do we help him get the funding and the resources and the personnel to be able to expand, to accept girls in or more girls in and give them the opportunity? We got girls walking around here that got D1 bodies with D1 athletic ability, and they don't have any D1 feeder program. So my goal, hopefully the next year or two, I would like to become the girls basketball coach at the middle school, which is kind of funny because I never coached basketball before. But my number 2 daughter played basketball most of her school career, and I know enough to be dangerous. I know how to teach shooting and dribbling, and on that level, don't worry about teaching plays. Don't worry about that stuff. It's all about dribbling, passing. Maybe get a quick a pick and roll play, a couple inbounds plays, do some pressing. That's it. So that's my goal, to help our youth outside of just being police work. But I want to be able to mentor young boys, mentor young girls, bring entities together that have the same goal under kind of one banner, so everyone knows what everybody is doing. So that was kind of a quick aside. So if you have any young sons, daughters that you would like to get, in a mentor position, I know, again, some organizations, myself, sports could be a good opportunity for them. And I want to definitely see that grow, and we'll keep you posted on that. So with that being said, thanks, Big D, Big Don. We'll let you guys go. Thank you for listening to me ramble for about an hour. Hopefully you kind of learned something about me and what I do, what I've kind of brought here, what my motivation is. My weaknesses. I guess some of my strength. But I think above all, my biggest strength is I am loyal. And the city of Ben Harbor, I will sink and rise and fall with the tide. So I love our town. I love our people. I love this job, and that's why I do it. It's never a dull moment. And again, my door is always open. So thank you all. I'm looking at my face getting fat again, so I got to get back on my diet and exercise. So hopefully next week I might look a little different, somewhat. But until next week, Ben Harbor, I thank you. You guys continue to be blessed. Have a good week. We'll see you next week. Same time, same channel. You've been here with Chat with the Chief. I am Director Dan McGinnis, and we are signing out until next time.